Hey everyone, it's me Lyric. I'm here to share about one of my favorite practices, which is seed saving. We'll turn to my good friend Sunflower for a specific example, and we'll also talk about some of the broader concepts around saving seeds. Seed saving is really the only reason that we have most of the vegetables and cultivated foods that you are probably familiar with. All of these plants came from a wild variety of food, a wild ancestor, and indigenous peoples began fostering a relationship with these plants and saving their seeds from plants whose traits they really desired, and over time breeding those plants and saving more seeds and essentially creating plants that wouldn't have existed otherwise in the form that we know today. To have, like a watermelon, to have a big juicy melon, the ancestor of that plant, the melon was, probably about this big, and it was actually kind of bitter. It didn't resemble really at all what we would know to be a watermelon today. So seed saving is essential and integral to the preservation of culture, of tradition, and to enable real food justice. If you have seed, you have the potential for food. So we're gonna turn to Sunflower as a teacher in this practice. It's very simple to save sunflower seeds, so it's a great plan to begin building a seed saving relationship with, or to continue a relationship if you already practice seed saving. So this is the head of a mammoth sunflower. This is actually a little bit small. I'll pop a photo in here of 3 years ago, my biggest sunflower head I ever grew. It's really big. This one's smaller, but it's still full of seeds. So sunflowers are really amazing because it's actually a composite flower or a composite head. So all of these little yellow stars, those are all actually individual flowers that connect to an individual seed. Think about that. And there can be hundreds and sometimes even over 1,000 seeds or flowers in one sunflower head. It's a really amazing example of the truth that we're all individuals, but we're all intrinsically connected and benefit from working as a collaborative system. I know my sunflower seeds are ready to harvest because I can actually see, these are kind of the butt ends, the thicker ends of the sunflower seeds. I can see the stripes have fully formed, and they're hard. They're hard to the touch. They're not, as hard as they'll be when they're dry, but they're nice and firm. So sunflower, as I said, it can be a really simple beginner seed saving plant because you can actually look and recognize the seed because sunflower seeds are so ubiquitously known as a food. So they're easy to recognize. And then other tools, the sepals, these outside green parts, they're brown and dying back. The back of the head actually is brown, and this was slumped over, facing downward in the garden. It was no longer upright, holding itself. And you also want to harvest your seeds on a dry day when it hasn't just gotten rained on. Other plants will have different indicators of when the seeds are ready, but typically when the flower has died and the plant is browning or wilting, that can be a good time to check for seeds. So I can't store this just like this whole thing to save the seeds. I need to just take the seeds out of this head. And that's true for your other plants as well. You really want to isolate the seed out of any other parts of the plant, or what's known as the chaff, the casing, or the sepals or the petals. You don't want to store any of that because it can hold moisture, it can harbor bacteria and disease, and it'll just make it easier to plant your seeds come springtime. So this is one of my favorite things I'm about to show you. This is one of my favorite things in the world. First, you need to rub off the flowers, all of these flowers on the sunflower head. I rub them off, and it's really exciting. Check it out. I'm revealing the sunflower head. So now you can really see all of the individual sunflower seeds. So now what you need to do is start to break apart your sunflower head. I'll also say you should definitely do this outside if you can, because it makes a large mess. I'm only not doing it outside for the video because it's a little bit noisy out there today. I'm just breaking apart the sunflower head. It doesn't have to be in any particular way, but you're just looking to get different chunks and that make it easier to break the seeds apart because they're packed really tightly on the head. And so I find that breaking chunks off, it helps all of these loosen up, and then you can easily dump them into a bowl. And so you just want to use your thumb and just work the seeds out from the head. I'm really just kind of almost just brushing them off. They're nice and loose now. So check it out. You can see these were all of the cavities where a seed was tucked in there. It's a really cool shape. And as you're processing your seeds, make sure you're looking out and making sure you're getting the really high quality seeds. So like this one doesn't have any black striping and it's just white and it's all soft. There's no actual seed inside of the shell. So I'm going to not include that because it's not going to be a viable plant. So here I have the mature seeds from that sunflower head. Now there's still some chaff that just got in there, it happens. So what I do is strain that out, or what's called winnowing, using air to blow off the chaff, which is way lighter than the seeds. You can do this in lots of different ways. You can do it on a screen, you can do it in a bag. Honestly, sometimes I'll do it in my salad spinner if the seeds are big enough that they won't fall through the holes. Give it a spin. And you can see that's pulled out a lot of that chaff and even some of the moisture. Next, you need to lay the seeds out to dry. You cannot store them in this state because they're not fully dry, so they will mold or go bad. So you can spread them out on a screen or a tray and let them sit in a cool, well-ventilated room, like maybe a room where you have a ceiling fan running. You don't want to store them in direct sunlight because that can damage the seeds, and you don't want to heat them in something like an oven because that can also damage the seeds, damage the enzymes that are stored, that are waiting to promote growth, and it could also break the dormancy of the seed. Dormancy is when seeds wait until they're planted to grow. They're storing all that energy and they're waiting for the right signals from their environment to tell them it's time to grow, like warmth, moisture, soil contact, and sunlight. So you want to eliminate those things as you're storing your seed. So the first thing is to dry the seeds. So I've spread my seeds out on my tray here, and every day I'll come and scoot these seeds around, mix them around, ensure they're getting really good airflow, and I know they're ready to save when they are really nice and crunchy, like you're familiar with if you've eaten sunflower seeds in the hull. They'll have a really good crunch to them, and they'll make noise when you run your hands through them. These are some seeds that I saved last year. You can hear how loud they are. Once your seeds are dry, you can then store them. So you want to store them in an airtight container, like a Tupperware or a jar. And you want to store them in a cool location. I store all my seeds, almost, they don't all fit, but I store as many as I can in my refrigerator. If you don't have room in your fridge, you can store them in a cool, dark place like a closet. And you always want to make sure you label your seeds. So I have a bunch of different packets of seeds stored in here, but each one is individually labeled. It says the name of the plant, where it came from, if you harvest seeds from other people's gardens or somewhere else, and then the date. So name, date, and where the seed came from. And the date is really important because seeds don't actually last forever. It depends on the plant, but some seeds last around a year before they're no longer viable. Sunflower seeds specifically, they're believed to last for up to 6 years in proper storage. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, if you have a specific seed you're hoping to save, because like I said, all seeds are different. Some seeds need to be wet processed. Some seeds have a really specific window of time that you need to harvest them. There's lots of variation, but it's really important that we learn and reclaim these skills and steward these plants on for more generations.